While visiting the Netherlands, Emperor Naruhito attended a luncheon hosted by the Dutch Prime Minister Rob Jetten at the Mauritshuis Museum in The Hague on June 18th.
I would like to express my deep gratitude for the warm words of welcome.
Before the luncheon with 39-year-old Prime Minister, the Emperor was invited to tour the museum.
Prime Minister in the middle. I hope the lady can be seen. Yeah, I think it's correct.
Its collection originated with the Dutch royal family, the House of Orange, and includes masterpieces by renowned Dutch artists such as Rembrandt and Vermeer. He listened attentively to explanations.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Nippon Television was granted special access to the museum ahead of the Emperor's visit.
From the 1980s during
But let's go there probably. I think it's better, yeah.
The first painting shown to NTV was Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring.
There
A
she
masterpiece
is.
rarely allowed to leave the Mauritshuis Museum.
We see the Girl with a Pearl Earring by Vermeer in the Mauritshuis in The Hague, and she is perhaps the most popular painting in this museum. And of course, often you ask me as well, why is she so popular? Let's come close to the painting. In a way, she is a mystery because, of course, Girl with a Pearl Earring, we don't know who she is, and probably she never existed, so it's a figment of Vermeer's imagination. It's more a study of a young girl. And actually her dress is not contemporary dress in Delft, the city where Vermeer lived and worked. So it is really like a fantasy figure. And also the pearl, of course, if you would have such a big pearl, you would have to be the richest woman in the world. And so the dress is not contemporary, but we have descriptions of the painting as like a study of a painting. And Vermeer made more of these studies, but they are considered lost. And we like to call her the Dutch Mona Lisa. So the Mona Lisa is somewhere else, but we have the girl, and she is our ambassador, and she's very well loved in Japan. And so it's a very special occasion that she's allowed to leave the museum, and this will happen. And we know she's very popular in Japan.
Also, the emperor is coming, and they're going to probably see this as well before going in.
Yes, and so we only can do this because there will be a small renovation of the museum building, and she went before. The last time was in 2012, and over 1 million people came to see her, and people in Japan love her for all kinds of reasons. Maybe you know the answer better than me. I think she is like an idealized figure, and maybe she appeals to Japanese taste. But I also like to think that you can make your own story about her, because we don't know who she is, if she ever lived, if she is not a figment of Vermeer's imagination.
Known as the Master of Light, Vermeer created a work that continues to captivate viewers for centuries. Dressed in exotic clothing and looking back over her shoulder, she continues to captivate viewers around the world. Her blue turban is painted with ultramarine made from lapis lazuli, a precious stone originating from Afghanistan. This pigment was more valuable than gold in the 17th century, but Vermeer lavishly used this deep and bright blue color. Often called the Dutch Mona Lisa, the painting is filled with mystery. Who is she? What is she trying to tell us with her eyes?
And I think it's just a wonderful way of painting, because if you look at the pearl, you see the pearl because of the light effects. You see a big dot of white paint, which is a reflection of the light. And then at the other side, you see a reflection of the white color. So I think it's a miracle of painting. You see her moist lips. There's a bit of reflection there. And with Vermeer, it's always in the detail. And so you just make your own story. I would like to invite the people that come to see the exhibition to make their own story and to admire her. Yeah, she will follow you wherever you go in this room. She will follow you. She will look at you. Yeah. If only she could talk. What did she see?
its enduring appeal may lie in the space it leaves for each viewer's imagination.
And is the light from the left-hand side because he was...
Well, you see the reflection on the pearl earring, so it comes from the left side, but it is sort of like unclear where she is. We did a lot of technical research, and we know that in the original condition, this is an old painting, probably 1665, centuries old, and my colleagues from the conservation department did a lot of research, and we found that initially the background was a green curtain, but the original paint has darkened, so now it's a dark background. So it must have looked quite different from now.
Very mysterious.
Very mysterious, yeah. And because it is not an actual portrait, but rather more a fantasy figure, you can sort of create your own story around her. We have on Instagram #mygirl, and then a lot of people are inspired by her, and I think that is the quality of a good work of art, is that you can make your own story.
Another masterpiece on display is Rembrandt's The Anatomy Lesson of Dr. Nicolaes Tulp.
We have, of course, wonderful paintings by Vermeer in the Mauritshuis collection. Our collection boasts masterpieces of Dutch and Flemish art, and one of our most famous paintings by Rembrandt. We have several works by Rembrandt, 11 to be precise, and this is actually one that made Rembrandt very famous. The subject might surprise you, an anatomy lesson. So this is actually something that really happened in 1632. This is the dissection of a deceased man. He actually was a criminal who had been sentenced to death. And what they show you here is the workings of the muscles of the hand. But at the same time, it is a portrait of all these surgeons from the Amsterdam Guild. And they had to pay for their portrait by Rembrandt, but of course the person in front, he couldn't pay, he was dead, he was used for this anatomy lesson. And what the picture doesn't show is these lessons were done in public. So you could actually go and see this in an anatomy theater. And what is quite remarkable, if you look on top, it's very difficult to see, but believe me that it says Rembrandt F. Fecit 1632, but Rembrandt is his first name. And so it is like a piece of marketing. Instead of saying Rembrandt van Rijn made this, he just used his first name. And it made his name very well known, because after finishing this work, everybody admired it, because more of these paintings had been made, but they didn't have such a dynamic composition. And so ever since we talk about Rembrandt, I never use his last name, it's just Rembrandt. And he had copied that from famous Italian artists like Michelangelo or Titian. These are all first names, and Rembrandt knew that. And so while we still talk about Vermeer, last name, with Rembrandt we are on a first name basis.
Painted before he became widely known, the piece helped establish his reputation as one of history's greatest artists. Each figure is carefully arranged within the composition, while the dramatic contrast of Rembrandt's masterful use of light and shadow brings their expressions and movements vividly to life. It is also a rare early work made during a time when he still signed his full name. Interestingly, the perspective of the painting changes depending on where the viewer stands, altering the apparent length of the corpse lying in the middle.
Kind of interesting from where you see.
Yeah, the viewing point. And I didn't mention, but the Mauritshuis as a royal picture gallery, a royal collection. The anatomy lesson was bought by King William I. He is the first king in the House of Orange. And he bought it for the Mauritshuis, and he really loved the museum. So he bought really important paintings for the museum, yes. And this is already a long time ago, almost 200 years ago, that it was acquired for this museum. Yeah. And this painting actually came from the collection of his father, so it really was like a family collection that is now owned by the Dutch state. Yeah. You can shoot them, yeah. They belong to the history of the museum. But I would like to show you the goldfinch by Karel Fabricius. And Fabricius was actually a Rembrandt pupil, so he worked in Rembrandt's studio. And this painting was actually finished in 1654, And this is the year of the explosion of the gunpowder house in Delft. And unfortunately, Karel Fabricius, his studio was completely destroyed. He was found in the rubble and he died a few days later after they found him. So this is one of his last paintings. It's actually perhaps the most famous painting of a bird because it's so well loved. It's very famous. The goldfinch is already here since a long time, and it's a very rare painting because of this artist we only know of like 15 or 16 paintings. So we are very happy to have it. And if you
The works of Rembrandt and Vermeer continue to be loved around the world, including in Japan.
Yes, of course, in this room we have other painting. We have an early painting by Vermeer. We could actually see that painting now. It's a history painting. That is probably the first paintings by Vermeer in existence. And this is not a scene from daily life necessarily, but based on a book by Ovid, Metamorphoses. So a history painting. This is the goddess of the hunt. You recognize she has a little moon crescent on her head and her feet are being washed. If you wouldn't know it is by Vermeer, it is very much inspired by Italian works of art, the coloring and the technique. And Vermeer left this, so he decided, I don't want to paint scenes from books, but I want to paint what I see, the daily life. And
The Netherlands and Japan have shared a long and enduring relationship for more than 4 centuries.
we feel so privileged. Yeah, we have had a lot of famous people here ever since the opening of the museum in 1822. And as I said, our collection is well loved, and we have had many important guests, but this is really a very important guest for us. So we're very happy and feel privileged that your emperor will come and that our king will come. And I mentioned the connection between the House of Orange, so our present-day king, and the museum, because his ancestors sort of like founded the museum. So I think it's sort of full circle. Yeah.